From New York.
I thank Mr. Lantos and the sponsor of legislation. Look, I fundamentally believe, and I have for some time, that aid to the Palestinians has not achieved any of our foreign policy goals. It hasn't been accountable. It hasn't gotten us a more peaceful administration there. And fundamentally, I believe that it doesn't achieve what we seek to do in foreign aid. And I commend the sponsors of the legislation. I agree with both of them that this doesn't go far enough. It allows far too many loopholes. Among other things, it permits the PLO, the last vestige in the throes of the terrorist organization that passed, to continue to have a mission in New York City, in my hometown. Let us not forget that we have provided billions of dollars. We always lead this debate with our hearts, in some cases, rather than our head. When Y River was signed, the United States citizens and taxpayers said, we'll put dollars on the barrelhead. When Oslo was signed, we said, we'll put dollars on the barrelhead. Invariably, we are, as we always are, the American people, very generous in trying to live up to the aspirations that we have for that region, despite the fact that every single time it proves to be for naught. So I believe that this is a very important first step. But I also think it's important that people understand that democratization in the territories is a good thing. I agree with President Bush that having democracies, free open elections are good things, but they have consequences. You know, many people argue in that part of the world that because we had used foreign aid in support of so many organizations of Fatah, the Palestinian people were impelled to vote for Hamas. When you have a campaign based on the idea that we're going to continue terrorism, we're going to refuse to acknowledge the existence of our neighbors, and the voters vote for that administration, there are consequences. And one of the consequences are the American people say we're not going to be involved. And I also cannot take the microphone at this moment without talking particularly to one critic of note of late. You know, being a former president of the United States gives you a vaunted place in American and world life to be someone who speaks about the important issues of the day. Unfortunately, former President Carter has turned into a polemist on this issue, and an irresponsible one, to say the least. Recent appearances on television, he's gone so far as to refer to the Jewish lobby as the reason why we're not aiding Hamas and not doing more in the Middle East. He had the audacity to say that there hasn't been May I have one additional minute, Mr. Chair?
I'm pleased to yield an additional minute.
He had the audacity to suggest in a recent television appearance there hasn't been any Hamas terrorist attacks since 2004, ignoring the daily barrage of rockets coming into the south since Hamas took over, missiles being lobbed at schools, at hospitals. I believe that there's a responsibility that former President Carter has. And he dishonors himself and dishonors the role of former presidents by continuing this polemic screed. We in this body, and overwhelmingly Americans, want there to be peace in the Middle East, overwhelmingly support a two-state solution. However, when voters in that part of the world voted for terrorists, they have to understand there are ramifications. And I thank the gentleman for yielding.
Gentlelady from Florida. Gentleman from California.